You're either going into the fire, coming out of the fire, or you're in the fire right now. And this is what I've heard in my life, and it helped me to understand that when I say the fire, think about challenging circumstances. Think about trials in your life. Think about things that didn't turn out your way or are going in a place that you don't, that you're not exactly happy with. You're either coming out of one of those, you're about to go into one of those, or you're in one of those right now. And this fire that happens within our life, like when we talk about wisdom, which we've been talking about in Inchstones, and we talk about, spending time with God, all those things, it doesn't take away the fact that we're going to have trials. It doesn't take away the fact that there's going to be intense heat. But when I sat down today in my alone time in Proverbs 17, what I realized was that we will be tried by fire, no matter who you are, no matter what circumstances you have, no matter what. And we're going on this 7-day challenge, and I would suggest that you, or I would recommend that you come on this 7-day challenge with us. It's our 3rd day, and we're just doing the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. All we do is just read the proverb, and then we write down what verse hit our heart, what did it make us think about, and then what action can we add to that today. Now, I made a workbook, which you can get on Amazon. You can click the link in the bio and go to Amazon and get the Inchstones book, The Vibe Within, and it'll walk you right through. So it has the proverb, and then it has 3 months of journaling. So you'll read the same context or same content every on the corresponding day every single month, but you'll write something different. Something different will hit your heart. Something different will hit your mind, and then you'll add a different action to it because your circumstances will be different. And so we started to do that. And what I started to realize is no matter where you're at, most likely there's some fire in your life, right? There's some things that are happening that aren't that savory, that you didn't intend to happen. And so no matter who you are, you will face trials, but I want you to be encouraged because that fire will first separate, then it'll refine, and then it'll purify. And as I sat down with Proverbs 17 today, it gets straight to the point. The refining process takes heat. So if there's heat in your life, there's bad circumstances, there's things that you don't like in your life right now, get excited because the purification is starting. So why don't we get this party started?
Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
I don't think that I've ever had a relationship, a circumstance, a business that didn't have trials in it, didn't have fire in it. Every single time that we have a plan, then God just kind of laughs a little bit, and then, challenges happen. And it's not like he's bringing the challenges and wanting us to feel pain. It's just those things. We live in a fallen world. And when those things happen, to understand that there's going to be a 3-part process of it. Number one, there's the separation. So I was just talking with my friend Meg. We were sitting down, and what I was saying is a lot of times when we have intense heat or we go through that, when we have a circumstance, the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a separation. And when you commit, which means to cut off, when we do that, what'll happen is when you cut something off, it's got to die. And when it dies, there's going to be a little bit of mourning inside that thing. And that's what happens with commitment. So the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a separation. Then there's going to be the refining, and the refining is not that comfortable. And then there's going to be the purifying, which is the most uncomfortable. And all these things come through heat. And when I say heat, it's going to come through, intense heat. You think about, I remember learning about silver the purification process of silver, they heat it to a molten state. All the dross, which is the impurities, come to the top. They scrape that off. It becomes sterling silver. Well, that same process happens with us. It happens in relationships. It happens with business. And probably one of the toughest challenges in your business right now is going to be that thing, if you write it down, that becomes the thing that becomes the next process or procedure. And we had this happen a lot of times in our company, where we just learned. I talked about a couple episodes ago about getting robbed. And when we got robbed, it was intense fire, right? Windows broken, people stole our stuff. We got there, at maybe 8:30, 8:15, 8:30. We open at 9. So we had to understand, well, that through that purification process, through that heat came a break-in packet. So we wrote everything down, all the serial numbers, everything like that for all the TVs, everything that we owned. And when we did that, the next time that we got robbed, the fire wasn't as hot because we knew what to do, right? So in Proverbs 17, it gets straight to the point. The refining process takes heat. And so if we want to be refined, if we want our business to be pure, our relationships to be pure, if we want to make things the best that they possibly can, it's going to take heat. It's going to take intense heat, and that's going to be challenging. Now, one of the things that's not going to create intense heat is going to be the Vibe Room, which is November 5th. It's a live version of the podcast. If you didn't get a chance to see our last guest, Old School Ice Gree, Greg Lewis, Old School Ice Gree. This guy is amazing. He was Kanye West's A&R. I just had him on the show. It was an unbelievable conversation about, the life and mentality of a dreamer. I've got Tara Harvell on tomorrow. I get to interview some of the coolest people. Actually, Bobito Garcia is coming on the podcast, which is Cool Bob Love. Stretch Armstrong, Cool Bob Love. If you're a hip hop fan, you know exactly who I'm talking about. If you're not a hip hop fan, I think if you're on this planet, you would know who he is. He's an absolute legend. He's going to be coming on the show. We've got Sean, that is the founder and CEO of Lovesack. He's coming on the show. And so many people wanted to meet these people. So we created an environment where you can. And it's called the Vibe Room. It's here in Carlsbad for the first time. It's coming home. And we've got music, we got comedy. It's going to be amazing. The only bad news is there's only 60 tickets, and they're selling out fast. So reach out to me and let me know if you want to be there. We'll see if there's still tickets available. So let's get into Proverbs 17, because this refining process, I think one of the hardest things that we ever deal with is when we're in the fire, where do we turn? When we're in the fire, do we look at it as a purification, or do we look at it as it's destroying us? Depending on the way that we grew up, our environment, our mentality, our surroundings, all those things determines how we actually react to it. And you hear this all the time. It's not the circumstance, how you react to it. But a lot of times people don't get deeper into it and say that, what are all the factors of why you respond or react the way that you do? And so Proverbs 17 gave us a kind of roadmap when you're in the fire, when it happens, when these things happen. These are things that you can look at, write down, and refer back to while you're in the fire. Remind yourself it's separating, it's refining, and it's purifying. That's the first thing. In this 7-day challenge that we're doing, going through the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, if you have the Inchstones workbook, you can go right through it with us. If not, just pick up the word and pick up a journal and read the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. Write down what hit your heart, write down what it made you think about specifically, and then add an action to it. And just have that as a thought process in the day. Start your day out that way. It can be amazing in your personal, professional, spiritual, and financial life. And I think all of them together. So here's the roadmap, right? So when we're in the fire, what I took from it was in verse 1, be content with God's provision right now. Whatever God gave you right now is exactly where you need to be at the exact right time, and God's big enough to be able to have you in a different place. And when we understand that, it's crazy to think that, wow, things are going to work out. Like, they're going to work out and everything's going to be okay. That's what my buddy JP says. Everything's going to be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. And so be content with God's provision right now. In verse 2, hard work beats talent. Hard work beats talent, but when you have talent and you add hard work to it, it's a combination that cannot be, it can't be competed with. So understand that when you're in the fire. When you're in the fire, verse number 3, intense heat purifies. In most situations, it's a condition of the heart. And so we talked about it on our last episode, and we were saying that, your words are an overflow of your heart. Yeah. So the only way to get into your heart is through your eyes, through your ears, and through your senses. So if you fill your heart up with good, the overflow of your heart will be good coming out your mouth, and your mouth, when you speak something, then that becomes the actions. Now, a lot of people think it's the other side. I start doing it, and then it'll cause me to speak. No. It all comes from the heart. So just be conscious and realize that when you are in intense heat, if you're in that trial right now, then I want you to understand that intense heat purifies, and in most situations, it's just looking to purify your heart. Because when we purify our heart, then our words change, and when our words change, our actions change. If we're just about to go into a trial, which most of the time we get blindsided by this, but if you know that there's only 3 places, you're either in the fire, you're coming out of the fire, or you're about to go into the fire. One of those 3 things. And a lot of times we get blindsided because we think, oh, wow, okay, cool, I'm in the clear, everything's good. And this just happened with my friend Meg. She just got her daughter is working with the Tijuana pro team on soccer. And she got so excited because her daughter, she hasn't graduated from high school, or maybe she's graduating early and she's going to go. And now she gets to work with a pro team, but in comes the fact that she has to drive to Tijuana every single day. She has to get insurance for a car. They won't insure a car down there. So they had to find a place where to park and, travel over the border, walk over the border, and then find transportation. Her daughter is African-American. She is white. And so when they go down there, they deal with things that they didn't otherwise think that they were going to deal with. So she thought in her head, oh, wow, this great thing is happening, but there's a little bit of trial that comes with it. This is life. This is normal things that happen. And I want to encourage you, Meg, and I want to tell you how much our time means to me, spending time together. And that Josie, she's the number 2 goalie in the nation, and she's going to USC, and she's a phenomenal human being. So when you're in the fire, you're on your way into the fire, or you're coming out of the fire. Watch this. What and who are you paying attention to? First of all, to pay attention, you got to listen. So whatever you're listening to, be conscious of that, because at some point you'll pay attention to it. Now, when you pay attention, when you look at those 2 words, pay attention, it means that you're exchanging something valuable that you have for that thing. So just be conscious of it, because when you start to listen to something, even if it's garbage, then you start to pay for it. When you pay for it, then you respect it more. And when you respect something that's not great that you're allowing into your ears or into your eyes or around your senses, then it'll start to go into your heart. And once it gets in your heart, it overflows, it comes out your mouth. Once it comes out your mouth, it turns into your actions, and that's where we get into challenges. So if we can look at it as a condition of the heart, and we can ask ourselves, what and who are we paying attention to? In verse 5, how strong is your generosity? Generosity is a cycle. So when we're generous, then it fills up our heart. When our heart is filled up with generosity, it'll be filled up with love. It'll be filled up with peace. And those words will start to come out of our mouth, because our words are nothing more than an overflow of our heart. So once that starts to come out your mouth, then your hands will start to move towards it. So when you're generous and you have generosity in your life, then it'll fill up your heart. That overflow will come out your mouth. It'll turn into your actions, and you'll be more generous. So it's a cycle that way. So, I would definitely recommend this as much as you possibly can. In verse 6, honoring your family is profitable. That's an easy one. But most of the time we have the tendency to think that, it's just, it just feels good. No, it's profitable. And it talks about that in verse 6. In verse 7, do your actions make sense? And this is a scary one for me, because sometimes I have to look at my actions and say, are they in line with what I believe, right? So when you take your heart, which is your belief system, your mind, which is your intentions, and your skills, which is your actions, you put them in line, you create an irresistible vibe. But I could tell you the vibe on the other side, when those things aren't congruent, they're not in line, you can feel that. There's been people, how many times have you ever met somebody and you just didn't want to be around them? You wanted to have nothing to do with them. I could tell you about those times. That's because the vibe was off. Because it's not the energy that person brings into the room, but the way that you feel about them when they leave. So in verse, in verse 8 and 23, you cannot buy cool, you must earn it. So realize when you're in the fire, like when that fire is happening, you can't buy cool, you must earn it. You can't buy like swag, you have to earn it. And so when you're in the fire, it's separating, then it's refining, and then it's purifying. And that process has to happen for you to get something great. So invite the fire, invite the discipline, invite those times and get excited about them when there's challenging times, because that's forging something that's great. My brother told me about a time, when he went to Starbucks and he went to do his debit card and he didn't have enough money on his debit card to get his Starbucks. And he said it was a turning point in his life, but it was a point that he remembers. And this wasn't that many years ago. And now my brother owns one of the top law firms in all of Las Vegas. And his law firm is growing at leaps and bounds, and he's doing better than he ever has in all aspects of his life, personally, professionally, spiritually, financially. But he remembers that time. And without that time, he probably wouldn't appreciate all the things that he gets to do today. So when you're in that fire, realize that you can't buy cool. You can't buy swag. You can't buy experience. You got to earn it. And in verse 9, love conquers all. That's an easy one. My shout out to Lenny Kravitz. I love you so much. I love your music. I love who you are. And I'm looking forward to having you on the podcast at some point. In verse 10, inviting disciplines takes prudence. That takes thought of the future. So you got to think of the future to invite discipline. And when you're in the fire, invite it. It'll separate, it'll refine, it'll purify. In verse 11, not listening doesn't end well. That's a simple one. It sounds like my dad. Boy, not listening doesn't end well. In verse 12, don't play with fire, respect it. In verse 13, foolishness will always catch up with you. Foolishness is just the absence of wisdom. In verse 14 and 19, always be a peacemaker. In verse 15 and 26, do the right thing, always, even when you don't see the right results on your timing. In verse 16, knowledge is worthless without wisdom. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge, and all wisdom starts with the fear of God, which is the respect of God, and knowledge is worthless. All the knowledge in the world is worthless. All the book knowledge in the world is worthless if you don't have the proper application for it. In verse 17, your people will be with you in the fire. When the fire happens and the trial hits, you're either going into one, you're in one right now, or you're coming out of one. But I can tell you, your people, the people who mean the most and the people who are the most valuable, will be there in the fire. And I want to thank Keith, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Rob, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see. I had some other friends, Greg, my buddy Will, my buddy Dave. There's so many people that when I had intense fire in my life, they were right there with me. In verse 18, mind your business and work your land. When you're in the fire, don't try and mind someone else's business. Be okay, be content, and be right there, because it's separating, it's refining, and it's purifying. But when you mind your business, then you'll get the result. When the trial happens and we try and divert our attention to something else or distract ourselves, that's when the real benefits don't show up. In verse 20, your heart determines your words. We already talked about that. In verse 21 and 25, honor your parents. That's a simple one. Do it all the time. In verse 22, fill your heart with cheer. When your heart is full of cheer, joy will come out your mouth, love will come out your mouth, and that will lead to the actions that are congruent to that. In verse 24, focus on wisdom. That's which is the right use of knowledge, and that just means spend time with God. And He created you, He loves you, and He loves you exactly where you're at, and He's going to carry you through the fire. And when you come through the fire, you're not going to smell of the smoke. You're going to be separated. You're going to be refined. You're going to be purified. You're not in the fire to injure you. You're in the fire to purify. But it's a process. And in verse 27 and 28, as we finish up, it's knowledge causes you to speak slow. When you have knowledge of these things, right? But first of all, we have to have wisdom. We have to seek wisdom in all that we do, but then we can add knowledge to it. And when we have that knowledge, it'll cause you to speak slow. And when you're in the fire and you speak slow as opposed to speak rashly, and I had this happen. I had a little bit of a tough day yesterday. And I had to take thought of my words. I had to think of the future. I got the chance to be able to sit down with my son and spend some time with my son. And there was a couple things that I was getting annoyed with, but then I had to ask, like, let me take thought of the future. How are these words going to affect my relationship moving forward? Not just right now. Take thought of the future. You see, when the fire ultimately comes, refer to the map above and remember that the heat is there not to destroy or harm you, but to purify, to separate, and to refine. I want to encourage every one of you, all of you who are in the fire, all of you who are coming out of the fire, and all of you who are sometimes you're just about to get blindsided because you're about to go into it, is what God wants us to do is get prepared. He wants us to get prepared, but he wants to get prepared with his wisdom, spending time with him, his love, and so he can wrap around you and help you to see, even in the darkest, craziest, most like wild times, that he loves you. He's got you in this place for a purpose. And then you are going to be a testimony to all the people that come about in the future that are in a very similar fire. You're going to be able to sit with them and know exactly how they feel because you went through it also. If you didn't get the chance to get the workbook, get it. It's on Amazon. It's Inch Stones. We're going through. This is the third day of the 7-day challenge. We're going to continue on with this stuff. And also, if you want to come to the Vibe Room, it's November 5th. And it's a live version of the podcast. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Transcendence Wine, I want to thank you. They are our wine sponsor. They're from the Central Coast, and they are unbelievable. They're going to be pouring there. You're going to have the opportunity to be able to check out Transcendence Wine from my hometown of Lompoc in the Central Coast. It's unbelievable. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be a great experience November 5th. You don't want to miss it. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Share it with a friend. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.